Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, wherever you come from. Welcome to the Beyond the Lab Alumni Insights on Careers in Biomedical Science. My name is Associate Professor Dr. Lim Chui Ling, and I'm very happy to be a moderator for tonight's live talk. With us are our lovely speakers. We have Dr. Shamala Savamani, the Program Director for the Biomedical Science Program of IMU University. We have Ms. Kwek Sin Fei, and she's dialing in from Australia. She's a PhD candidate of the University of Newcastle. And we also have Ms. Pravin Paul Kaur. She's a cytogenetic scientist from Hematogenic Syndrome Berhad. So welcome all participants and welcome all speakers as well. Right, so to start off with the live talk tonight, we have a few housekeeping rules. We have muted the mics for all attendees. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please use the Q&A panel, and you will see it at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And this live webinar will be recorded, for your information. Okay, just to give you an overview of the program for tonight, we will start off with Dr. Shamala kwek a short overview on pathways to graduate employment in biomedical science. And this will be followed by Ms. Kwek Sin Fei. She's going to share her journey through biomedical science to now where she is as a research scientist. And last but not least, we will have Ms. Pravin Paul to share with us about her career and the roads that you can take as a biomedical science graduate. So without further ado, I'm going to invite our first speaker. Let me just unshare. So our first speaker is Dr. Shamala Savamani. I'm just going to give a brief introduction of Dr. Shamala. She's the Program Director for the BSc Honours in Biomedical Science at IMU University. And in her role, she oversees the program's curriculum and ensure it aligns with the current industry standards. And she emphasizes a comprehensive blend of theoretical knowledge and practical skills. And she also is an advocate of analytical thinking and effective communication among students. She highlights the importance of internships, which she's going to talk about, and also bridging the gap between academia and professional practice. So without further ado, please put your hands together for Dr. Shamala. The floor is yours. You may share your screen now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Chui Ling. And hi, everyone. Good evening. And thank you so much for spending your time with us today evening. And like what Dr. Chui Ling have said, I'm Dr. Shamala, the Program Director of Biomedical Science. And my talk today will be Beyond the Lab, Pathways to Graduate Employment in Biomedical Science. I think this will be a very interesting talk, but let me start with the program structure first, So as what you can see, we have 6 long semester, right? So it is within 3 years, and we have 2 short semester. We have gone through this in our previous live talk, but why I'm highlighting this today is for us to focus on semester 6 and short semester 1. Okay, so for semester 6, we are actually having diagnostic laboratory internship. So this is fully dedicated for clinical laboratory attachment, where students will be placed in government or private hospitals or diagnostic lab. Okay, so this will be for 17 weeks. And then we have second phase of internship. This will be focused on industry, So industry, they will have experience in research and development, could be product development. This is based on the interest or the passion that the students choose. Okay, so it could be marketing, quality assurance, or even regulatory affairs. So why I mentioned that internship matters here, as what you can see, because this is when you can bridge between the theory and real world application. Okay. So just sharing with you all, I'm showing some of the example for diagnostic placement, because you'll be wondering like, well, I'm going to do my placement. Okay, do you all have established network with the hospitals, labs, and so on, right? So roughly you'll get some idea. This is for cohort BM122. Okay, so the duration is 17 weeks, as I mentioned previously. So you can see that we have both government and private hospitals, and we also have diagnostic lab. Okay, so we have a long list of hospitals and also diagnostic lab where we will place the student based on their choice as well, right? So moving on, the next one, this is industry attachment, the short SAM, right? This is for 9 weeks. Okay, I have also given some of the example here. So what you can notice here is the diversity of institution. So you can even see some of the top research centers, university, pharma company, biotech company, healthcare organization, and also insurance company. So during this internship, we also encourage students to explore international placement. Okay, so as what you can see here, number 1 to 13 is basically overseas attachment. Okay, so students will be placed in the world-renowned institution, like what you are seeing here, Taiwan, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Switzerland, Hong Kong, and so on. So if you're interested to go for international outbound internship, so we will arrange that for you as well, right? So if you want to do it locally, we have multiple research centers, right, for you to explore. Okay, so just showing you all how it will look like on our external internship supervisor's feedback, right? So feedback is obviously very important. This shows like how well our students is coping up in internship, right? So basically, as what you can see, you can take note on the color, yeah? So it basically from good to excellent is what you can observe here. So the key areas highlight on points or indicators like attendance, punctuality, respect for institutional rules, teamwork, communication skills, and application for knowledge, right? So you can see the rating is actually very good. This shows the program's success in equipping the students with the needed skills and also competency that fulfill the expectation of the employers. So we also have a very interesting system that many other universities do not have. We have Graduate Trainee Programme. So our Biomedical Science program actively connects with the industry player. So through this GTP program, so we are actually giving early exposure to the real world industry settings. So we are actually connecting the students with the preferred, industry as early as semester 4. So we allow the students to build professional network, gain hands-on experience, and also enhance the employability even before their graduation. So some of our students have already secured the placement even before they grad, right? So this is a very huge added advantage. So this is our list of GTP partner. This is our current partner just for biomedical science program. Yes, very specific for biomedical science only. And they are actively taking our students for internship and also for employment. So what you can see here, you can see various of industries here, and you can see some of the top players as well, right? Okay. Another advantage would be industry advisor report. Okay, so we call it as IAP. So this is very important. Why? Because they actually bridge the gap between academia and industry. We work with top players or key industry leaders to continuously update our module to see whether it's relevant or not, to incorporate real world challenges, and also to promote innovation. So this basically help our graduates stay aligned with the industry needs and also the current trend. So this is our list of current IAB members. As what you can note here, please take note of their organization and also the position. Okay, so they are the leaders and also the decision maker from diagnostic lab. You can see some from pharmaceutical companies, fertility center, insurance, and also biotech firm as well. Okay, so each of these members, they bring real world insights that really helps us to make our curriculum stay industry relevant and also align with the market need. Okay, so I think this is what everybody is looking for. So biomedical science job scope. So our graduate basically works as what you can see here, medical laboratory scientist, that's our core business, medical research scientist, forensic scientist, clinical research associate, biologist. It's a very interesting field to venture. quality control officer. But besides that, their skills, the biomedical science skills, are also transferable into other areas such as product or application specialist, insurance underwriter, insurance claim assessor, lecturers, even academia, right? Tutor, and also entrepreneurship. Okay, so this is the chart on graduate employment. So this chart basically showcases the diverse career path taken by our BM students, biomedical science student, highlighting the versatility of the program. So what I would like to highlight first is their wide range of options. Okay, so it doesn't mean that people study biomedical science, we're ending up in the lab the rest of our life. So that mentality have really changed. So the trend now is we can get into multiple types of career option. So you can see graduates are not limited to just one field. As I mentioned, they find opportunity in hospital. You can see about 25%. And the second one is on a product specialist is about 25%. Research is about 18%. Right, so this basically shows that the strong foundation and applied knowledge that they get, okay, which they applied in the particular job. Second, they move beyond traditional roles, like what I mentioned. You can see graduates are branching out into insurance, about 13%, right? So this is where they worked as an underwriter, claim associate. So this basically shows how the students, right, our graduate, have this analytical, data-driven, and also health-related skills, okay, that even valued in non-health sector. The third one is specialized role. So if you take note on the embryologist, right, it's the 3% one. So we have number of candidates, or its growing number, which requires specialized training. So this embryologist basically requires very specialized training. So you can see that study biomedical science, they also demonstrate, right, how this program bring them to this type of niche and high demand field. So you can ask me, like, what is the 17% others there? So others means where are they going, right? So they're going into quality control, regulatory affairs, public health, and even entrepreneurship. So the fact that 17% under others underscores that how much this program can also lead to other types of position, how these skills can be transferable to other types of job scopes as well. Right, so our biomedical science program, like what I mentioned earlier, doesn't just train the student to be in the lab, but it opens up many different pathways, even in research, industry, healthcare, insurance, and many more. So it is a versatility degree that adapt the evolving demand of current market. Okay, another interesting survey that I would like to show, alumni survey. So you can see the graph from alumni survey here shows our graduate achieve our program educational objective. So you can see the indicator, yeah, the good one is in yellow and the one in turquoise is excellent, right? So the key strength, as you can see, I will just highlight some of it, like theoretical and technical knowledge. We scored very good there. Teamwork, communication skills, use of media tech, and also visual data, work-related responsibility and decision-making. Interestingly, you can also see, like, alumni rated themselves on broader skills such as entrepreneurships, ethical awareness, leaderships, and also global understanding. So this feedback is actually very important for us to make sure that our program fulfilling the educational objective and also producing competent, adaptable, and industry-ready graduates. Okay, so that is the most important part. Okay, I'm just sharing, excited to share some with you all, some of the career journey beside the two alumni will be talking to you all later, right? So these are the real examples on where IMU Biomedical Science degree can take you, right? So our graduate have gone into wide range of professionals, like the one that you can take note on, the bolded version here. Okay, so our graduate have gone into wide range of professional role. So it's reflecting the strength of the program. So the one in blue blocks, right, as what you can see, it's focusing more on diagnostic and also IVF, okay, fertility centers, right? The one in purple is mostly on research. So the one in orange, research and also academia. And then the one is green is mostly on industry. So you can see like a part career from diagnostic research and industry. I would highlight one of the students here, Chang Hu-Yun. She's actually offered Bernie Pancheris in Edinburgh. Okay, and we have Kugulan Kannan. You can see here as well. So he actually ventured into entrepreneurship. He has his own startup. Okay. So why biomedical science at IMU University? So I'm just going to summarize very important 5 points here: comprehensive knowledge and also application of biomedical science. So our curriculum covered very important knowledge on biomedical science from molecular biology, pathology, clinical biochemistry, microbiology, providing a very strong theoretical foundation. Practical expertise, obviously hands-on is a huge added advantage here. So you won't learn just the concept, but then you also master the technical skills, which is very important for current days, right? So that includes your diagnostic instrumentation, data interpretation, preparing you for both clinical and also R&D roles. The third one is a very huge advantage. Why? Because we have dual internship model. Okay, so if you don't like diagnostic, you can go for industry. If you don't like industry, you go for diagnostic, right? You have the choice. So we actually provide you both the dual internship model. Okay, you experience both of it, right? And then you decide which one you like. So I think that's fantastic. First in diagnostic lab and then industry, like what I have shown in the program structure earlier. So gives you a hands-on real world experience and you are actually guided by the professional. The fourth one, we have graduate training program, GTP, and also industry collaboration. This is through IAB, Industry Advisory Board. And we partner with biotech companies, hospitals, research center, insurance firm, right? Basically helping our student to transit smoothly to the workforce. And the final one, yeah, we have IBMS recognition. So this is international recognition. Our program is recognized by IBMS UK, so offering you a global mobility and also provide you the eligibility to work further abroad, especially in UK. Yeah, so with that, whether your goal is to become a diagnostic scientist, researcher, educator, industry consultation, and even entrepreneurship, name it. So IMU Biomedical Science Program equip you with the skills, exposure, and recognition to success. With that, thank you so much. Back to you, Dr. Lim.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shamala, for a very clear overview of the program with special focus on internships, career opportunities for our biomedical science graduates. As you can see, our graduates have gone international as well, not only for the internships, but also in their careers. And you can also notice how a wide variety of career pathways that our graduates can explore. So I noticed that there aren't any questions yet in the Q&A, or there's one question. Okay, so we will KIV these questions to the end. We have a Q&A session. And if you don't mind, I think it'll be clearer and easier for us if you can indicate or direct the question to a particular speaker. But if you would like to open the question to any speaker, that's fine as well. All right, so thank you. Keep those questions coming. I'll move on very quickly to the next speaker. Thank you, Dr. Shamala. So our next speaker is our alumna from Australia. She's currently in Australia now. It's freezing cold, as I understand, because it's winter. And Miss Kwek Sin Fei is a PhD candidate. Yeah, she's in the final year already at the University of Newcastle, Australia. And she's also a preclinical scientist at, I can't pronounce this very well, Invertex. I hope I got this right. A clinical stage biotech focused on developing cancer immunotherapies with indications with high unmet needs. Yes, she has a background in immunology and molecular biology, and she also plays a very important role in bridging the gap between scientific discovery and clinical applications. So her work is very important in ensuring the treatment is both safe and effective before entering the clinic. So Ms. Kwek, I would invite you to share your slides and say hi to everyone. Okay, I can see your screen. So if you can put to the full screen now. Great.
Is this
Yeah,
clear?
it is clear. I can see it now. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Lim. Hi, everyone. My name is Sinfei, and I'm an IMU alumnus, graduated with a Biomedical Science degree back in 2019. I'm currently a final year PhD candidate at the University of Newcastle in Australia, and I also work in a local biotech company called Imverex as a preclinical scientist. I would like to extend my thanks for IMU for inviting me as a speaker to share my career journey as a biomedical scientist, and I hope this talk will benefit the audiences, especially for the students who are facing a dilemma on what field to pursue. First of all, why biomedical science? A fortunate thing about me is that I was able to identify my passion at a very young age. As a child, I was exposed to a lot of scientific books and documentaries, especially pictured books about animals, outer space, and the natural phenomenon on Earth. I'm not sure if people still watch Astro these days, but back then, when there's nothing fun to watch on Disney Channel or Cartoon Network, I would put on Discovery Channel or Animal Planet, and I always learned something interesting. So these helped me build my interests in different fields of science. At one point, I really wanted to be an archaeologist, which is someone who does prehistorical studies about dinosaurs, ancient civilizations, and whatnot. And then I also wanted to be an astronomer, which is someone who studies the planets, stars, and galaxies. I was interested in marine biology for the longest time. Knowing that only 20% of the ocean has been explored, it's quite fascinating, but also terrifying. I was so ready to be in a career that could uncover the remaining 80%. So, this whole thing led me to think, what do these careers have in common? And that's when I thought, I really loved the idea of contributing to a scientific discovery. So, I took my time in high school to understand what are my strengths. Then I realized I wasn't particularly good in physics. I didn't enjoy studying it so much, so being an astronomer is definitely out of the way. I did exceptionally well in biology, so that pointed me to a direction that maybe I would do pretty well in a biology career. So the reason why I ended up deciding to pursue a biomedical science degree is because it can offer me the best mix of passion and potential. So human diseases are extremely complicated and is constantly evolving. The demand for answers is always high and always there, especially with human lives at stake. So not only I get to study biology, which is my favorite science subject, I also get the opportunity to contribute scientific discovery that can improve human lives. Moving on, how did I make the decision to study in IMU? I did look up to a few universities that offered the biomedical science degree. I have to admit, I was initially interested in IMU because my friend is going there to study pharmacy. So I feel like following a friend just because. I mean, let's be real, it's quite intimidating, especially for an introvert like myself, to start fresh in a place far from home. But what truly locked my decision in was when I attended the open day and spoke to a lecturer, which I highly recommend that you do because you can speak directly to the lecturers there. And sometimes students also and sometimes you get to speak to students as well, and you'll have a better understanding of the program. So what really piqued my interest was the opportunity to go overseas. It could be in a form of internship or credit transfers, meaning you study half of your course in IMU and the other half in another university abroad. So with this in mind, I decided to study foundation in science in IMU. I find it really good that you can experience a glimpse of what uni life is in that 1 year of foundation, and also that gives you the opportunity to speak to current students of the course. Then you can decide whether you want to stay or go somewhere else. Personally, this 1 year was significant for me as I've made lifelong friends and the best memories. What I really liked about IMU, besides the academic reasons, is the strong student community they have. You can meet students across all disciplines in plenty of the events in areas like sports, cultural, and hobbies. It is important to understand that uni life is not all about studying. Being able to make these connections with people are equally important because having a strong community will help you through rough patches. As you all should know, uni life is not a smooth sailing journey. The communication skills you gain will also be incredibly valuable as it will be a very strong tool that stays within you, which will be very useful when you enter the working force. All of these positive experiences that I had during my 1 year foundation in science made it an easy decision for me to commit to IMU for my degree. Right here begins the story of how I made my way to Australia. When I was studying biomedical science in IMU, as mentioned previously by Dr. Shamala, it's part of the curriculum, is that we have to complete 2 phases of internship, and for one, we get to choose wherever we want to go around the world. This was the perfect opportunity for me to experience living and studying abroad, which I've always dreamt of when I was younger, but never had the chance to pursue it. I was very fortunate that my parents were supportive and allowed me to go to Australia for my internship because it was definitely not cheap, even though I was only there for 3 months. It was to me, it was a precious opportunity. So how I got accepted for an internship was actually pretty straightforward. I just looked up online on university websites to see who are the experts in the field of my interests. At the time, I was quite keen on virology and respiratory research because that was the topic that I did during for my final year project. And that's how I came across Professor Foster and Dr. Tay's profile on the University of Newcastle website. It's very straightforward. I basically just shoot them an email, introduce myself, and explain why I'm reaching out. And they just accepted me in and contacted the university to make arrangements for me to come over. It's very important to be proactive when it comes to seeking opportunities. So Professor Foster, or I usually just call him Paul, is a world-class researcher, internationally recognized for his groundbreaking research into asthma, allergic inflammation, viral infections, and chronic lung diseases. His incredible research output has granted him many prestigious positions and awards from our institute. So throughout the years of his research, he has mentored many brilliant and successful scientists, one of them being Dr. Tay, which I just call him Hawk. So in Australia, people don't really like to use honorifics. They prefer you to just call them by their first name. I was fortunate to be able to train under Hawk. He's a very, very good teacher. He dedicated a lot of time and effort to set up a training for me. So he doesn't really get much compensation from this. Like, he literally did this out of goodwill and wanted me to have the best training in those 3 months. So I was trained in this building called the Hunter Medical Research Institute. In short, we call HMRI, which is in the photo that I show. It is a fairly new research facility that is affiliated to the University of Newcastle. In these 3 months, I got exposed to advanced research techniques. I also got to make connections with experts all over the world that came to work in Australia. Our lab is basically a pot of ethnic soup, Like, we have people from China, Brazil, Vietnam, France, and Britain, and more. It's a very interesting experience, and you learn so much about other people's culture. And during my 3 months of internship, I got to understand the field a bit more, and this made me wanted to pursue in this research area. And you know what happened? I just asked him if he's looking to take some students in for a PhD, and he just said yes. He had a PhD scholarship under his name at the time, and he offered it to me. And as I said before, you need to be proactive. This was a life-changing opportunity for me. After my internship, I went back to Malaysia full of inspiration I started to compile my paperwork and put in an application to the university. And that was around the end of 2019. And you guys know exactly what happened in 2020, COVID-19. So just when I got everything approved, I couldn't make it over before they closed the border. I felt stuck at the time, as everyone would know how unpredictable times were back then. It was like we never know how long this will last or if we will ever walk out of this. It was a hard decision to make, whether should I continue waiting? Because what if COVID lasted for 5 years or more? Like, how long do I wait? Would it be better if I just do a PhD in Malaysia? It's a very insecure feeling at the time. So after a lot of thinking, I decided that I didn't want to give up my chances to go abroad. I decided to wait it out. I did try to keep up with the COVID news in Malaysia and Australia just to see how things are progressing. And while doing all that, I also applied for a research assistant job to stay active in research, and eventually I got a position in Monash University, Malaysia. Although working in a completely different field, I was working in more of a pharmacology research at the time. But the skills I gained, such as experimental planning, time management, and being resourceful, are extremely relevant in research, and those skills truly helped me transition into PhD life. And finally, in September 2021, I was granted a travel exemption to cross the Australian border. I had to fight for a flight ticket like it's a concert ticket. Like, it was extremely difficult to secure one. I finally made it through to be among the 11 people on board. Like, can you imagine, like, the whole big plane with there's only 11 of us on board to enter the country. Like, it was such a bizarre experience. It almost felt like a fever dream. So finally, on the land down under, which is a common nickname for Australia for being down at the southern hemisphere, I get to start my my journey as a PhD candidate. Here, I would like to briefly talk about my PhD project, and it's about asthma. Without going too deep into the subject, asthma can be an allergic reaction to pollen, just like how people with seafood allergy can develop certain type of reaction like body rash or swelling when they eat foods like prawns and crabs. Similarly, some people get an allergic reaction in their lungs when exposed to pollen, and this can sometimes be life-threatening. So thunderstorm asthma is a very interesting phenomenon. Why they call it this name is because sometimes after a thunderstorm, there will be a sudden rise in asthma attack in people. Can you imagine that? Like, after a thunderstorm, you walk outside to get some fresh air and suddenly you just can't breathe. I find this quite terrifying. So my research is about finding a solution for the people who suffer from this problem. My research primarily focused on the development of asthma caused by pollen. I want to understand why some people react to pollen but others don't. Is there something different in the lung structure of these people with asthma when exposed to pollen? So through answering this question, the outcome of my research will contribute to hopefully the development of a drug to help these people. So current research shows that there are many factors contributing to asthma. It's not just pollen. There's literally a lot of allergens out there. My research is focused on understanding the effects of pollen in triggering asthma and why are some healthy adults suffering from asthma when exposed to pollen. Like, is there something different about their lungs, about their body? I'm currently in the final stage of this research project now, and I hope the answers I have to these questions will contribute the understanding of asthma better or contribute to solution to treat asthma. Right here, I would like to briefly introduce what it's like to do a PhD in Australia. So countries may have different requirements and time frame to finish a PhD. In Australia, it typically takes 3.5 to 4 years It's a unique experience. Like not everyone will share the same PhD journey. So during my conference trip, I got to connect with other PhD students from all over the country, and it is interesting to hear about their differences in experience in their labs. Some people are happy in the lab, some people are struggling. It really varies depending on what projects you're working on, who are your supervisors, and what is the lab culture like in the group. Different projects will utilize different techniques. Some projects you need to be really good at physical lab skills. Some projects you need to be good at programming or modeling. And some supervisors are more hands-free, such as they allow you to be independent or and you can have a say on how you want to lead your project. Some supervisors will lean in a bit more and make the decision for you. So you really need to understand what kind of work style you can thrive in. If you want to be more independent, but found a supervisor that doesn't like that, you're going to have a very difficult time working with them. Supervisory relationship is extremely critical because they will be your biggest supporter throughout your journey and you don't want to upset them. So opposing to common belief, doing a PhD is equivalent to an employment. It's not a classroom style. When you're given a schedule to attend classes or provided with a deadline to submit an assignment, it's nothing like that. You have to do a lot of research into what kind of work environment you want to be in. This will be your next home for the next 3 to 5 years, and trust me, you don't want to have a difficult time, especially how you'll be away from friends and family. And also, being a PhD student means you must have self-accountability, be proactive, and have a good time management. Well, yes, you're not bound to a schedule. You can basically do whatever you want, but also that doesn't mean you can just fool around for the first 2 years and then realize you haven't made any progress. You have to plan your own work. You have to schedule meetings with your own supervisors to keep yourself on track. You are in charge of your own progress. In this slide, I just loosely categorize this into two main branches of career paths. Don't worry, there are many more options you can have. When you're talking about careers after a PhD, the common things that people will bring up is, oh, do you want to stay in academia or go into industry? So academia, meaning you will stay working in a university as a researcher. There's a lot of different role you can get in a university, but the common pathway is to become a postdoctoral researcher in a lab. As a postdoc, you pretty much play a similar role when you're a PhD as when you're a PhD student, but you definitely carry a slightly more responsibility, and you will start to be recognized as more of an independent scientist rather than someone else's student. You can also start taking up some teaching roles, such as being a lecturer, and eventually you will climb your way up to be a professor. So this kind of promotion typically looks at your research output, how much money you bring to the university, and how many students you mentor. So you will see yourself more in a role of teaching, publishing research, and securing grants. So publishing means a whole lot in academia because it contributes to your research output. So the process goes like this. You think of a topic or a knowledge gap that you think needs to be addressed, and then you do your experiment and you compile your findings into a paper, and you send that paper to a journal, and if the journal accepts it, that's a publication. The more publication you have, the more it shows that you're actively contributing meaningful knowledge to your field. And that's usually how you climb your way up in academia. So for industry, it's a whole other branch of careers. Like the options are limitless. I can only cover so much. You can choose to go into biotech or pharma companies. There's R&D, which stands for research and development, where you produce new knowledge or technology for the company. You can also be part of the team that coordinates clinical trials or be a medical science liaison that communicates with the medical community about company products. You can also be a product or equipment expert in the medical or research devices. So when you work in research, you will know the type of equipment we use are extremely complicated, and we always need a technician who can train us to use it. And that's the role, like a product expert. In science communication, SciComm is sort of like the influencer of the scientific words, not literally, but they play an important role in effectively conveying accurate scientific information to a general audience. You can also be a patent attorney that manages intellectual property. Do you know that you actually don't need a law degree to be a patent attorney? And lastly, you can also work in the government sector as a health policy writer or advisor. And you might ask, if I do a PhD in respiratory research, if I specialize in studying asthma, how is this relevant to any of these careers? And I'm here to tell you that research topic is just secondary. Like, do not worry about picking a topic and locked in that field forever, because the primary thing you gain is a suite of skills. It's a set of skills that are transferable across multiple disciplines, and that opens a range of opportunities for you. So don't worry about it. And as for my current role, I'm at the stage of writing up my thesis and working part-time as a preclinical scientist at Inverex. While it is challenging to juggle between these two, I'm very fortunate to have secured a job before graduation. Inverex is an Australian biotech company. It is Newcastle found, and we are targeting high unmet need cancers such as colorectal, gastro, and ovarian cancer. So there isn't much treatment options for these patients, and they actively crash. The company is passionate in offering alternative treatment to help them. So the company utilizes the technology of oncolytic viruses, which are viruses that kills cancer cells. So what sets this invention is the use of a virus, which is often known as a pathogen, like a bad thing, but we are using it to selectively kill cancer cells while leaving the healthy cells unharmed. So imagine we harness the destructive power of a virus and we channel it towards cancer cells, and that's what the researchers in Inverex are doing. So the first oncolytic virus have been approved in the FDA for melanoma treatment. So it is a true and tested technology. So cancer cells, they misbehave. So the way they misbehave, and it causes them to have more of these receptors on their surface. So like imagine a cell and they have more signals or markings on them. And we use these markings, we select virus to target these markings and use it to enter the cell and kill it. We have two major products at the moment, and one of it is in the clinic for colorectal, gastro, and ovarian cancer treatment. I belong to the team of early discovery and preclinical team for bringing this technology into the clinic. We are now working on our second product, and my job is to assist the senior researchers in the team to bring this tech into the clinic. At the moment, we discovered that certain cells are sensitive to the virus, and we want to investigate why. So this is what I've been up to. It's a new chapter for me, and I see many growing opportunities ahead, which is very exciting. I hope this talk is helpful for anyone here. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, just pop them in and I'll answer the best I can during our Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sin Fei, for sharing your journey. I actually commented during our previous meetings that her presentation looked like a thesis because she was currently working on a thesis. So a thesis was divided into chapters, as some of you may know. Yeah, so it's very structured. Yeah, and you can see the personality of a scientist coming out there. So thank you for sharing your journey. Indeed, a very international one. The circumstances aside, I think your resilience really shone, and you made it. Yeah, you made it to Australia, and now you're at the final stages of completing a PhD, and we're all so proud of you. Yes, I'm sure. Yeah, everything will go well. So I see that more questions are coming, which is fantastic. Well, let's leave this to the very end Okay, don't worry. So please stay on with us, yeah? Please stay on with us to the Q&A session. Now, very quickly, I'd like to move on to our final speaker for tonight, Ms. Parvin Paul Kaur. Ms. Parvin is a cytogenetics scientist with 9 years of work experience. I'm not telling her age, but she's still very young anyway. And she has a Master of Science in Molecular Medicine degree from IMU University. So she started a career at Subang Jaya Medical Center Diagnostic Laboratory, and she's currently attached to a clinical trial research lab called Hematogenics in Durian Berhad. Her work focuses on genetic analysis such as karyotyping, and she'll explain a little bit about karyotyping later, and fluorescence in situ hybridization. And these methods help to diagnose chromosomal abnormalities, genetic disorders, and cancers. So I'll pass the floor to Ms. Parvin. Over to you. You can share your screen now. Yeah, so Ms. Parvin has some slides. Yes, you can share your slide. Yes, I can see it now. And please put it on full screen. Excellent. Yeah. You may start anytime you like. Go ahead. Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Dr. Lim, for a lovely introduction. Hi, everybody. Very good evening to all of you. My name is Parvin Kaur. You can address me as Parvin. I am a very proud alumni of Biomedical Science at IMU University. And I thank IMU first and foremost for inviting me to give a talk today and share about my career journey. And I hope that all of you would be able to gain insight on the next few slides, from the next few slides that I'm about to share with all of you. So a little bit of background about me. So I completed my degree of Biomedical Science in IMU. And right after that, I got a job as a medical laboratory scientist, MLS, at Subang Jaya Medical Center. So I was actually working for 6 months in the main laboratory, and then I got an opportunity to move into a more specialized department, which is cytogenetics. I will be explaining all of this further. And I was in cytogenetics in the diagnostic field for 5 years until I finally switched my job and decided to go into the research field. And that is where I'm currently working as a cytogenetic scientist now with a clinical trial research lab called Hematogenics, and it's actually based in Cyberjaya. So in the midst of working as a cytogenetic scientist, I've also decided to pursue a master's degree, and I did my master's in molecular medicine, also in IMU, and I've completed that last year, and now I'm back to working as a cytogenetic scientist as well. So first and foremost, to begin with, as a medical laboratory scientist, what do you actually do in the hospital labs or diagnostic labs in general? So in the main laboratory, there are actually various departments that you can go into. So here are some examples of it. First, there's the specimen reception department. This is where your specimens come from all over, and you would actually have to register them into the system, and the sorting and the dividing to the various department happens. And then we have hematology. So hematology is where they perform testing on your full blood count. So they do count on your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your platelet counts, your hemoglobin. So everything is done here. And then we have the blood bank. This is where blood grouping is done. You get to know your blood grouping and also your rhesus factors. And then we also have phlebotomy, where you learn how to withdraw blood from patients. It's actually very challenging and very difficult. It's not as easy as it seems, because as a first timer, even for me, it's a relatively new thing to me. So finding a person's vein, especially a patient's vein, is very challenging. So it did take me like a month or two before I actually got proper precision and accuracy to get the technique right. And then we move on to the fluid and excretion department. So this is where the analysis of your urine samples and your stool samples take place. And then we also have biochemistry. Biochemistry, they do a lot of renal profile testing and a lot of serum-related testing, your lipid profile, your renal profile, your kidney profiles, liver profile. Yeah, so based on that. And we also have microbiology, where there's a lot of culture and sensitivity testing, where we see the detection of microorganisms and we see the resistance towards towards antibodies, antigens, and yes. So after that, we move into the specialized lab. So this is where I moved into after 6 months. So I'm in the cytogenetics department, as you can see here. So I basically study chromosomes and genes. But there are also other departments in the specialized labs and tissue diagnostics area. So first one is histopathology. This is where there is the grossing, sectioning, embedding, staining. So basically we get FFPE, we get formalin-fixed tissues that are already in blocks, and then we have to section them, and then we do the staining on the slides, and then we read it under the microscope. And then we also have cytology, where we process gynecological and non-gynecological and fine needle aspiration specimens, pap smear and all those kind of things. And then there's also molecular diagnostics. This is actually an upcoming field now, where there is a lot of PCR gene sequencing. So this is where like your whole genome sequencing, exon sequencing, next generation sequencing comes in. So to explain further of what I do in cytogenetics, so cytogenetics as a whole, we do karyotyping, and we also do fluorescence in situ hybridization. In short, I'll call it FISH. So the kind of samples that we process are bone marrow samples, peripheral blood samples, amniotic fluid, tissue tumor sections, even urine samples we do process as well to detect bladder cancers. So what is karyotyping? So as you can see, these are two images that I've shared. This is actually what we do. So we would actually do a cell culture on bone marrow peripheral blood samples, and we would harvest the samples, and we normally arrest them at a stage called metaphase, as you can see. And after that, we would drop them onto slides, and then we would do a G-banding and also staining. So this is the image, as you can see. So from the image on the left-hand side, as you can see, it's actually a normal female karyogram, because as you can see, there are two XX chromosomes here, where else on the right, as you can see, it's a male karyogram because there's one X and one Y chromosome. So what we actually do, it's actually like a jigsaw puzzle, because we have to analyze all of this. So we have to arrange them from chromosome 1 right up to your chromosomes. So how we actually detect abnormalities from here is, for example, if we see an extra chromosome, if there's, an extra copy of chromosome 1, or for example, an extra copy of chromosome 5, or maybe we see a loss of a chromosome. So instead of 2 chromosomes 1, I only see 1 chromosome 1. So 1 is missing. So a lot of different types of deletion, addition, there's even translocations. For example, like maybe a part of chromosome 1 would have gone to chromosome 2, so that's also possible. So based on all of this, we aid with the diagnosis and the prognosis of patients. And from there, the doctors would prescribe. There are also targeted treatments that are really ready for patients to undergo, to be treated with, so that they can undergo chemotherapy. So let's make this a little interesting for everybody. So this is an example of a karyogram. It's a male patient, as you can see. There is chromosome X and chromosome Y. So I'm pretty sure everybody should be able to see that there is something that's not correct here. So if anybody can take guesses. So as you can see, every chromosome is in a pair of 2, except for one number, which has 3. So for example, here we have 3 copies of chromosome 21, right? So these 3 copies of chromosome 1 indicates that this patient is actually a Down syndrome patient because it has 3 copies of chromosome 21. This diagnosis via karyotyping can also be confirmed with FISH, fluorescence in situ hybridization. So FISH actually uses a specific probe that's already designed for the specific chromosome. So as you can see from this diagram, the diagnosis is done. So in this probe, this special set of probe, there are 2 chromosomes that are related to it. The first one is chromosome 13, which is green in color. There's 2 of it. And the other one is the chromosome 21 probe, which has 3 of it. So this is how we actually read cells for FISH. And this also aids with the diagnosis of it. So a lot of people would actually be wondering also, like, how do we come up in the diagnostic laboratory? Like, we start off as a medical laboratory scientist and then what? Right? So we actually have stages that we'd have to go through. So we start off as a medical laboratory scientist 1. So with a degree, you go in with a title of scientist. And then with years of experience, you climb up the ladder. So you go into MLS 2, MLS 3, and then you become a senior MLS. And from there, you move up to head of department, and then you move up into QC, quality control manager. And finally, at the end of it, you become a laboratory manager. So moving forward, from the diagnostic setting, I've decided to pursue and go into the research field because that's where my passion lies. I completely enjoy research, and I've decided to move into that particular field. And so happened, I was fortunate enough that this clinical trial research laboratory popped up, and it's one of the first in Malaysia actually. So it's called Hematogenics. It's located in Cyberjaya. So this company focuses on the testing of clinical trial research samples. And the departments are also similar in certain ways, but they're also more specific departments. So there are flow cytometry, there is cytogenetics, molecular, biochemistry, and histopathology at the moment. So what do clinical trial research companies do? Right, so clinical trials as a whole, they're actually done to determine if a certain form of treatment or a new drug is safe and it's effective in treating people. So pharmaceutical companies, like there are various pharmaceutical companies, to name them, there is Johnson & Johnson, there is Pfizer, there is AstraZeneca. So these companies actually come up with a certain drug in order to treat certain cancers. So as a laboratory, we normally, the recruitment and all are done by the sponsors, and they have sites for it. But as a laboratory, we only do the testing of these patients, and they are all confidential. We do not have any information on them. So this is actually, as mentioned, it's designed to see if the treatment is actually working on the patients. So they'd have to undergo screening to see whether they actually fit for the treatment that's being designed for them. So basically, it's moving into the precision medicine field, in other words. So how does clinical trial research differs from the laboratory testing of diagnostic labs? So our testing is actually study specific. So different studies have a different set of requirements. There are specific tests. So for example, like in the diagnostic lab, we see, so for example, if a patient comes with diagnosis A, so we'd actually do test A, B, C, D to rule out or to find out what exactly is wrong with the patient. But where else in a clinical trial research lab, we actually know that this patient is being recruited for this diagnosis and for this type of drug that is going to be used on them. So we'd have to see whether do they pass the inclusion and exclusion criteria of the study or not. Only upon passing the inclusion and exclusion criteria, that is when patients will start undergoing regular testing according to their number of cycles that they would need for their chemo or for their treatment. So basically, if a person comes in, say, for example, a person comes in with multiple myeloma. So that is actually a type of blood cancer. So if the patient comes in with multiple myeloma, so that patient would actually be with us for a span of maybe 5 to 10 years because of the treatment cycle that goes on. So we would actually have to do the testing of that particular patient at every interval, at every cycle. So if the patient comes in as a normal, with a normal FISH or a normal karyotype diagnosis in the beginning, after certain treatments, the patient could also have like certain mutations that pop up because of the side effects of the treatment. Or like if a person comes in and the patient is already abnormal, with the treatment, they can become normal again, but maybe over a certain period of time, the cancer may relapse. And it can worsen over time as well. So there's a lot of different things that can take place. So it's actually very interesting to see all of this. So because of my work and my company, actually, the main branch is actually located in Chicago, USA. So I've actually been very fortunate to get to be able to go there to be trained. And after that, because I've been here with this company for about 4.5 years now, so I was sent to Shanghai, China as well, for me to train them because they just set up a new laboratory there, also for clinical testings. So as a question that pops up, like how Dr. Shamala mentioned earlier, as a biomedical science graduate, do we only work in the laboratory field? Is there anywhere else that we can go? The answer is no. In a research setting, you can also work as a clinical research associate. So some of the key responsibilities as a CRA, you would do a lot of report writing. You would have to manage supplies. You would have to manage inventories. You would have to design protocols and methodologies for studies. You would be in charge of data collection and documentation. So you would have to make sure that you coordinate with the ethics committee to ensure that, the trial subjects and patients, their confidentiality is actually protected. So these are the various key responsibilities as a CRA. This is the career pathway of a CRA. So with a biomedical science degree, you actually start in the operational field as a CRA, and you move up to become a senior clinical research associate. After a certain period of time, you move into the management side where you go into, you become project managers and also clinical research managers. There are also other career options, as mentioned earlier. You can do your postgraduate studies, your master's, your PhD, and move into academia. You can become a product specialist or application specialist, and you can also go into sales, marketing, or even underwriter in insurance companies. So to sum it all up, I personally believe that it's very important to find your passion, because only after discovering your passion, you will find your purpose. So I actually started with a thought in mind that I wanted to be a doctor. That was my initial ambition. But over time, I discovered my love for research when I did my degree in biomedical science. And when I got my first job, it's not easy getting a job out there, So as somebody who's a little clueless right after my degree, not knowing what I wanted to do, I just took the first job that came my way. And eventually, over time, once I got into cytogenetics, it became a field that I absolutely loved. I completely enjoy my work, and patient diagnosis and everything has been something that has been very interesting to me. And the thought that comes to me every morning when I wake up is that I get to save somebody's life. Like as they say, not all heroes wear capes. Some come wearing lab coats. So this is how I'd like to end my talk. And I hope that all of you enjoyed this. Any questions, please feel free to ask. I'd be more than happy to address them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Parvin. I think that was a very heartfelt sharing. I can see that you're very sincere when you're sharing about how you feel about your profession. And it really struck me, when you say you wake up every day knowing that you'll be saving lives. So, yeah, we don't have to be doctors to be saving lives. In fact, the research that we do and differences that we make in the lab or even outside the lab actually helps the public, to community to a certain extent. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate. Okay, so we're now done with all three speakers. We're going to go very quickly. I can see there's quite a list of questions in the Q&A box. So I'm going to start off by inviting all the speakers to please turn on your cameras. Thank you. Yeah. It's good to see all of you again. So I'm going to direct the questions to particular speakers, according to the relevance. But if you have a comment about the question, you want to share something, please feel free to answer as well. So the first question is on IBMS accreditation, whether it's required to work in Malaysia. So this participant is interested to pursue a degree in medical bioscience in ICL, but is not IBMS accredited, but he would like to work in Malaysia in the future. Maybe Dr. Shamala would like to give your take on this.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lim. Thank you for the question. So basically, we have professional body for biomedical science now in Malaysia. We're talking about Malaysia. We have a Malaysian Allied Health Professional Council. So in order for us to practice in Malaysia nowadays, so we need to be registered under that particular council. So IBMS, it's not important to practice in Malaysia. However, it is an added advantage because this shows that you are internationally recognized. Okay, so I'm also going to address another question that asking whether can I secure a job in UK directly, right?
Yes.
So just following the flow. So what you need to do, obviously you can get into UK, but we have to fulfill the registration. So we need to be registered as a biomedical scientist with Health and Care Profession Council. We call it as HCPC in UK. Okay, so once registered, basically they will be asking about the course content, all the scopes that you have studied. Usually we will verify from our academic service center, and then you need to submit that particular documentation in order for you to get yourself registered. So it's a process, but it's not very difficult. So with that, then you can be registered as a biomedical scientist in UK, and you can practice in UK. Yeah. Dr. Lim, you wanted to add something? Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Shamala. Just to add on to that, for IBMS accredited programs like the IMU Biomedical Science program, there are actually two hurdles, in fact, to be registered as a biomedical scientist in the UK. One is they look at the curriculum, and secondly, they require sort of like a registration portfolio, something like a practicing, evidence of your logbook, your competencies in the lab. So for graduates from IMU Biomedical Science, because we are IBMS accredited, they will not need to scrutinize the curriculum. So you basically pass the first hurdle already. So the next hurdle, of course, you need to practice and complete your registration portfolio in a Health and Care Professions Council, HCPC recognized lab in the UK. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Dr. Shamala. Very quickly, I'm going to direct this question to Ms. Sin Fei. How will we be able to apply for internship? And if I don't do a credit transfer, will I still be able to apply for internship overseas? Would you like to answer that?
Hi, yes, 100%. I personally didn't do a credit transfer. I did my biomedical science degree entirely in IMU. Like as Dr. Shamala mentioned before, it's part of the curriculum that you will have the opportunity to apply for an internship. And wherever you want to go, you just need to reach out to the person that you want to work with and see if they want to take you in. Like working under Hawk he's not the first person that I contacted. I've contacted with other people before, and they said no for various reasons. So yeah, like just try. Like just go ahead. Like it is very possible. That's what I did, and a lot of my classmates did as well.
Right. Thank you, Sinfei. We would like to add on to that in terms of overseas placements, yeah. As a practical attachment coordinator, and I have been a coordinator for many years, we have this concept called the Outbound Student Mobility Program. So our international office actually offers a subsidy even for students who are studying the IMU program, IMU degree, but would like to do a short-term attachment abroad, right? So this is where we have students, for example, Sinfei at the time, she underwent the outbound student mobility, and you can do so as well as a IMU biomedical science student. Okay, thank you for that. I'm just going to hop. You will see I'm not following the chronological order because I like to offer equal opportunities to each speaker. To Ms. Parvin, what's the difference between biomedical and MLT? Would
Okay,
you like to answer that question?
yes, that's a very common question that we normally get. So basically, biomedical science is a more broader spectrum where you work and you focus on life sciences or research and also clinical laboratories, research laboratories. You can go into many different fields, doing biomedical science. But MLT is already specified. It's it's very specific. So MLT stands for Medical Laboratory Technology, right? So it's directing you towards the diagnostic labs already because it's more practical, it's more hands-on. So you're dealing more with laboratory testings already. So it limits your scope down. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so to summarize that, I think biomedical science is a broader scope, right? You can see how many different career pathways a biomedical science graduate can go into versus MLT or MLS is just one of the branches, all right? Some people may say this is our core business, yeah, but you can see that our graduates have gone on to a variety of career pathways. So thank you for that. Okay, so I'm just managing some of the questions, typing out the questions as well. Maybe I'll revert back to Dr. Shamala about the GTP, Graduate Trainee Programme. Would you like to elaborate on how does one get into a GTP?
Okay, so GTP is not a different program. It's just that when it is basically formalized internship, I would say. Okay, so everyone will be going for that dual internship, the one that I mentioned, right? But the thing is when when the student choose to get into GTP companies, the one that I have listed, right? The one that I have shown just now, right? All the logos and all. So student have a choice. So whether you want to get into GTP companies. So GTP companies is basically those companies that have signed MOU with us, right? So this will be more on formalized internship. Why? Because they will early engage. It's like a matching process, It's like, okay, you wanted to work in the particular, let's say, pharma company, right? So we submit the CV and it's based on selection. So they like you because of multiple reasons. We send them the CV and it's supposed to be a selection process because we wanted to avoid scenario like, student getting into some organization, then they basically secure a placement, right, for their job later on, but then they reject. Or student like to work with that particular organization, but they do not get any offer. So we want to avoid this type of scenarios, and that's the reason we're trying to do the matching, right? So with this, what will happen, the GTP companies can engage with the student as early as SEM4, means like they can involve in their road shows, like any of their activities, like during the weekends or what, so that they will have some good connections, networking with the particular companies, even before they officially start their internship, right? So with this, it basically serves as a probation period. So it will be easier for the company to understand you, obviously, and then to secure a placement for the students as well. Okay, if let's say the student wanted to explore some other companies beside GTP, it's fine. Okay, so we don't limit the student to choose GTP companies or organization alone. So you can go and then you want to venture further. We actually have a long list. So you can select from our list or you wanted to explore further, it's fine. So we also facilitate all those things for our students. I hope it clarified. So GTP is not something new. It's basically internship. But when you choose the GTP organization or companies, it get into a formalized mode. Okay, so yeah, that's the difference. So the week of internship and all the mode is basically the same. Lah. Okay, Dr. Lim, you wanted to add something?
No, I think you answered that perfectly fine. In fact, Dr. Kamala is our person in charge, the go-to person for GTP placements in the biomedical science program, right? Okay, going very quickly now, just like to remind everyone that we may not be able to address all your questions live. I'm very sorry for that in the interest of time. However, those questions that we are unable to answer, we may just summarize them and send it via email to all participants, all attendees after the talk, right? Okay, so just going very quickly back to Ms. Sinfei. There was some interest in terms of how you got the chance to pursue a PhD while in the middle of an internship. I believe you mentioned that. Would you like to elaborate further?
Well, yes. So basically, during my internship, I basically just asked if there's an opportunity for me to come back as a PhD student, and so happened they had a scholarship on hand and they wanted to offer me that. So what it makes a huge difference when you're doing an internship with them, because when you're working directly with them, they can see exactly like what are your work ethics and how compatible you guys are when working, as compared to when you're in Malaysia and you want to apply it to a lab that doesn't know you at all. Like, you're just sending a CV of yourself. People can't really judge how your character is just based on that. So the chances, if you get the opportunity to work with them, the chances of you getting accepted is actually much, much higher, because people tend to hire or accept people that they know.
Yeah, that's a very good answer to that. So the answer, so I think it's very clear. Yeah, many of our students actually get offers, not only postgraduate offers, but also job offers on the internship, and it is because it's two ways, like what Ms. Sinfei mentioned. It's not only you are gaining experience from internship, but the employer or the potential supervisor is also observing you during the few weeks or months that you are there, right? So that's why internships are super important and part of the curriculum. Okay, Ms. Parvin, I think this is a very good question for you. Does working as an MLS require to be on call? Is it a job with a fixed schedule or 8 to 5? Yeah, I think perhaps that question first.
Yep, sure, Dr. Lim. Okay, so working as an MLS, yes, we do work an 8 to 5 job, but there will be on-calls, unfortunately. But the on-calls are only for people who work in the main laboratory, right? So if you're working in specialized labs or tissue diagnostics, which I've mentioned just now, that means the 4 labs: histopathology, cytology, cytogenetics, and molecular. There is no on-call required for those departments. But bear in mind, for both the main laboratory and also tissue diagnostic laboratories, you will have to work on weekends. And there will be standbys on public holidays as well, because patient samples come in at any point of time. So you would have to be ready to sacrifice your weekends and public holidays and be on standby. Yes.
Right. I think it's a small sacrifice for the service that you are rendering to our patients, right? Because MLS, MLTs are an integral part of the healthcare team, not only doctors and nurses, but yeah, without laboratory scientists, we won't be able to get the patient samples tested for diagnosis. Yeah. There's a follow-up to the question. Go ahead, Ms. Parvin. Yeah.
If I may, just to add
Go.
a fun fact, as a degree holder with a biomedical science degree, we actually go straight to medical laboratory scientist. So we are no more MLTs, right? Yes. So
exactly. Thank you for correcting that. So with the council now, you need to have a degree to become a medical laboratory scientist as well. So that ties in with the license to practice, and this whole registration process is ongoing at the moment, right? Okay, there's a follow-up to this question. Will a master's in bioinformatics be useful for MLS? What's your take on that?
It's good to do your master's in bioinformatics, but that's my personal point of view, because bioinformatics now is very upcoming, it's blooming, but bioinformatics now is mostly used in the field of molecular. So as an MLS, if you're working in like the main laboratory, then it's not really useful because it's not being used as much. But if your interest is moving towards the molecular field, then yes, that's very, very vital, and it's a very good thing to have.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Papin. Over to you, Dr. Shamala. Yeah, there are a few questions on clinical embryology. One question is on can a biomed graduate directly become an embryologist? And also, how to prepare for an embryology internship? What do you think about that?
Okay, so we actually covered on embryology in our reproduction system module. So obviously it's not sufficient. So let's say the students wanted to venture into IVF, right? So what the student have to do is usually they will talk to us much earlier so that we can help them. So you're supposed to get yourself upgraded, obviously. So biomedical science, how you can bring you forward is that you can go for attachment in IVF center. Obviously, that would be very, very helpful because you will have hands-on skill. Okay, so we managed to get few IVF center. As of now, I think we have 2 who are taking internship. That itself is a huge thing. Usually, they don't allow interns to get into IVF center. So somehow we are very fortunate because we have a few IVF centers coming in and telling us like, yes, we can take students and train you. That itself is a very huge advantage. Second, you can take short courses, right? I think Dr. Lim can also promote our CPD later on. We have advanced embryology. Yeah, actually that's very helpful because we do it for our students to upgrade their knowledge on particular field. We also have CPD on forensics. So we do this type of short certification so that you improve your knowledge on the needed field later on. So our student basically knows where they want to go and we guide them accordingly. But that's how we support our student. I think, yeah, the question is answered. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Shaman. I was just going to say that, yeah, the CPD on clinical embryology that's coming up on the 10th of October. So stay tuned to that. I have a few more questions. Okay, I think these 2 questions we can answer together. Yeah, Ms. Sinfei, there's an interest on how, or rather, is it possible to go straight to a PhD from bachelor? So did you do PhD straight or an integrated transfer from upgrade, I would say, master's to PhD?
Yep, good question. So I did not do a master's at all. It was straight from a bachelor's to a PhD. And that depends, and it really depends on the country's education system, I would say. For example, in the US or the UK, I don't think you can easily make that jump. Even in Malaysia, if you want to do that jump, you need a certain requirement. But for Australia, typically they don't do a master's to go into a PhD because they have an honors degree. But also like in Malaysia, for example, for IMU, we had the honors title in our degree because we had like a 4 to 6 months final year project, and that's like the final year project is what contributes to the honors title. But in Australia, it's a 3-year degree, and then you have to take up an extra year, like it's a whole year of honors, like to do a research project. Then only you can do a PhD. It's basically like a mini master's for them. Yeah, it really depends. See where you're applying to. I hope that answers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Sinfei. I think
Dr. Lim, can I add something?
Please do.
Yeah, so just for those who are interested to go PhD directly after your, bachelor degree, so it's good for you to secure first class. So that is the most university requirement in Malaysia. I'm talking about Malaysia. If you have first class, and then you can jump directly to PhD. If not, then you can take master. And if you publish a paper within a year, then you can transfer into a PhD mode, right? So overseas, I think simply have covered very well. Yeah, that's all, Dr. Lee.
Yeah, thanks for adding that, Dr. Shamala. I think that's very relevant. Yeah. Okay, we have just time for just a few more questions. Ms. Parvin, I was thinking of whether to direct the question to Dr. Shamala, but I think Ms. Parvin would be able to, because she has that experience of looking for a job, right? This participant is worried about the demand of biomedical science in Malaysia. Yeah, I think many parents and many students are worried about that as well. What is your take on that, Parvin?
To be honest, I was also worried in the beginning, but I think over time with like the market blooming and with a lot of different fields that we can venture into, so I don't think that's something to worry about now, because there are a lot of different things that you can do with a biomedical science degree. So it is definitely a very good field to pursue because there are a lot of a variety of fields that you can eventually later venture into over time. Yeah.
All right. To follow up on that, thanks, Pavin, for your take. I think it really depends on the field that you are looking for and the personality, right? What interest you have. Are you someone who will be able to work in the lab all the time? Yeah, there's a question on, do you work in the lab all the time, right? So I suppose during the sharing, they've answered that more or less. Some students can't stay in the lab. They need to travel, they need to talk to people, and those graduates will end up doing something entirely different, but still within the scope of a biomedical scientist sort of careers. So if you would like to find out more about career options for biomedical scientists, don't forget to come to our open day, yeah? A little promo here. Okay, I think we have just time for one more question before I wrap up. So I'll direct this to Dr. Shamala. How can I tell if biomedical science is for me if I like learning about biology but struggle with memorizing?
I think what you can do is like what Dr. Lim mentioned. I think you can talk to our lecturers. I think that would be the best thing I would suggest, because you can come to the open day, you talk to us, you look at the program structure, you look at what you are learning through, and then I think you can take it from there. Because like what Pavin have mentioned, we are now having many opportunity. We are not just ending up in the lab. It's really taking you to a lot of places, and I have actually shown you the proof where our graduates have, gone to. So I think like to make the decision, it's easier for you to come and talk to us. That's one. And biology. Yeah, biology is more on understanding. I teach biochemistry. I'm a biochemist by profession. So it's basically understanding rather than memorizing. So you do not need to worry so much. Why? Because it's not like 100%, it's exam based. That is another thing that you really need to understand. So we have like in ICA component is like assignments, practicals, whatever that you do earlier so that you secure the marks and then you sit for the exam. So it's not like 100% marks whether you pass or fail. So we have a few components that actually will help you to score also somehow. So it's just that you need to plan your time well, and it's not just memorizing everything. So it's more towards understanding. Yeah. Dr. Lim, you want to add something?
No, I think you answered that very well. So it's biomedical science. Oh, we do have biology, but it's not all about memorizing. Like you said, we do have, in fact, in our learning, in our curriculum, we have different levels of assessment and also, helping the students gain the skills, the knowledge. We have different levels of understanding, comprehension. We have application type questions as well. So we want you to analyze the situations, apply the concepts rather than merely memorizations. All right. Okay. So like I said, I'm so sorry we don't have enough time to address all the questions. All your questions are very pertinent and very good. So we'll try our best to summarize this and send the answers over to you. But before that, let me just share my screen once again. I have some very important announcements to make. Okay. So I hope you see my screen. I'll put it on slideshow. Can you confirm that you see my full screen? All right. So there is a question I noticed on forensics. So if you have time on the 12th of July, 2 p.m., this is Malaysia time, 2 p.m., we have a forensic pathologist, Dr. Samira. He's our very own IMU lecturer, also forensic pathologist. He's going to talk about the world of forensics involving medical biotechnology or biomedical science concepts. So stay tuned for his talk. Yeah, it's coming up on the 12th of July. As a follow-up on that, we have a workshop, and this is hands-on, it's physical. This will be in IMU, the BJ2 campus, on the 18th of August. If you're very interested in CSI and forensics, please do register for this workshop. There is a fee involved. However, if you are an IMU student or you are a student of another university or college, you do have a concession rate, right? So if you're interested, please do scan this QR code. So that's coming up on the 18th of August. Now, we did mention this, Dr. Shamala and I, on the 10th of October, there will be a workshop. This is more of a lecture series. So we have several industry, very experienced content experts in clinical embryology. So if you're interested to pursue the field of fertility and clinical embryology, this is the CPD for you. So we kept the cost also quite low for students. Non-IMU students also get a concession rate. So remember to save this date, 10th of October, yeah, and scan this QR code to register. Now, this Sunday, we will have the open day, and what will we have? A very exciting lineup of talks, and we will have our booth as well, yeah? So biomedical science booth will be set up, and you get to talk to us, lecturers, not necessarily us, but we have other biomedical science lecturers on duty that day who will gladly share and clarify your further doubts. So if you have more questions, I'm sure the more you learn about biomedical science, the more questions you may have. So please come to our open day. We will have campus tours as well. And I will also be giving a talk on the university experiences of an IMU biomedical science student. So stay tuned for this Sunday. Yeah, and these are some of the highlights of the open day. Okay. Now, we would like to improve on our live talk series. So we have had a few sessions up until now. Please do share your feedback. Please tell us what we're doing well, what else we can improve on. Yeah, we greatly, greatly appreciate your input. Okay, so just scan this QR code, just a few questions to let us know what you think about the session. Was it helpful for you? Right? So I'm just going to pause here for a little while, and I take this opportunity to thank all our speakers, our lovely speakers today, Dr. Shamala, Ms. Kwek Sin Fei, and also Ms. Parvin Paul Kaur, for taking the time and effort preparing those lovely slides and sharing your heartfelt talks, on your journeys from a biomedical science program to where you are now, successful IMU biomedical science graduate. So deepest appreciation to all of you. And of course, we have our behind the scenes team whom you don't see their faces, but they're working very hard. Ms. Nomaisara, Ms. Lau Chu Yong, they're part of the marketing and enrollment team. So I'd like to, extend my deepest appreciation to them for organizing these talks. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this live talk today, right? And last but not least, our deepest appreciation goes to you as participants, as attendees for this webinar. Thank you for tuning in today. And we hope that we have clarified some of your doubts, if not all, but there will be a continuous engagement. So we'll see you, some of you at least, on the 12th of July, and perhaps we'll be able to meet on Sunday as well. All right, so that ends our live talk for today. Again, thank you very much and have a great evening.